Good morning, friend, or good afternoon, good evening, whatever greeting is right for you. I have been trying to watch the sunrise more lately. I'm not a morning person, but I've found that watching the sunrise sets a really good pace for my day. So here I am listening to the birds and getting ready for a day out in the garden. But first, I'm going to do some dinner prep. Welcome back to my kitchen. It is spring planting day. I am ready. This was my first year starting seedlings with a grow light setup, so it feels really good to have a bunch of my own seedlings ready to plant out. Yesterday I was outside in a t-shirt prepping garden beds. It was 75. It was perfect. Today is not that day. Today it's windy and upper 30s, lower 40s, but we're doing it anyways. This is the time I have set aside for this. It'll be fine. So before we get out into the garden, I'm just gonna put some dinner in the crock pot. I know that I tend to run out of energy after spending a couple hours in the garden, so I'm trying to work with myself by just making sure that I get dinner put on ahead of time. I'll be grateful for that planning in a few hours, I'm sure. I often rely on slow cooker meals and one jar meals on gardening days. Just helps make things work. So this is gonna be a creamy sausage tomato soup. Forget the actual name. Let me look at that recipe again. It's Crockpot tortellini soup with sausage. We're gluten-free just because of some health issues, so tortellini sounds delicious. I'm gonna swap in some gluten-free pasta for the tortellini. I've looked online for gluten-free tortellini and have not found it. It is an untapped market, I guess. The sausage is nicely browned, so I'm gonna add in some garlic. And I can smell that garlic now, which means it's time to turn off the heat and get everything into the slow cooker. I've got my sausage mixture in here. I'm just gonna add in 2 carrots, 2 diced celery, a can of my home canned crushed tomatoes. I grabbed these this morning and realized my pantry is getting low. I am ready for a restock with more canning. 4 cups of chicken broth. This is broth I made from a chicken I roasted last week. You've heard me sing the praises of roast chicken before, but I just love that it gives you dinner one night and then good broth for another night. I'll set that to low. It's now 9:30 in the morning and dinner's cooking. I like that. Let's go spend some time in the garden. Most of these guys are going in the ground today. I've been hardening these off for 5 days now, and they've been doing really well. It is going to get cold tonight, so it's not quite ideal to be planting them out today, but this is the window of time I have to do this, so I'll just cover them tonight. All right, I've got another layer on now. We're going to start with the broccoli. This is the Waltham 29 broccoli. I spent some time yesterday creating these rows. This garden space was a pumpkin patch before, and I'd never really created rows, and the soil was kind of compacted. You can see here, you can see these guys on the end just got too leggy. I think they were reaching for the light. They weren't in great light, so I'm going to preference these. So I'm going to space these guys 18 inches apart. I've got my trusty seating square. So it's just 1.5 lengths of the square because the square is a foot. Sometimes I don't measure things out at all when I garden, and then sometimes I fixate on proper spacing. It is totally dependent on the day's mood. Today we're measuring it out. I'm going to put in a second row of broccoli. For these 4 rows, 2 will be broccoli, 1 red cabbage, and 1 Napa cabbage. Broccoli is something my kids will always eat. Cabbage, sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. So we definitely want plenty of broccoli. If you're new to this channel, this is my 2nd year on this property and in this lifestyle of trying to grow and raise food for my family. I call this our homestead, but you know, the homesteading spectrum is vast. We're on the smaller scale end of that. I'm on an acre. And before we started this venture, I'll admit that most of my exposure to homesteading came from YouTube. And wow, was that first growing season just humbling. I watched these people on YouTube growing a year's supply of food, and you know, their children are a portrait of health, and they're smiling and harvesting these massive hauls of veggies, and I just thought, I can do that. And I'm not throwing shade on these channels that show just the most beautiful parts of this lifestyle. I can understand completely wanting to share the beautiful parts with the world. That's what you want to bring to people. But let me tell you, this is hard work. I was really humbled because I was overwhelmed by the garden last year, and my garden was not as big as many I've seen. So I'm letting that inform my strategy this year. I promised myself that I would not grow more of anything that requires effort to preserve. So tomatoes, I'm growing the exact same amount as last year. But there are a few things I'm going to scale up, and those are only the things that are effortless to preserve. To me, that's potatoes, onions, winter squash. Potatoes and winter squash are things that will fill my family's bellies, and all I need to do is harvest and cure them. They don't require a lot of close tending. So we'll plant some potatoes together today. John, my husband, keeps watching me sow seeds and reminding me that I was overwhelmed last year. I've asked him to build me 2 more raised garden beds, and he keeps saying, "Are you sure?" But I'm saying it now, you can hold me to it. Those 2 beds are just for more potatoes. I like to grow sweet potatoes this year. My family likes sweet potatoes, and I didn't have space for them last year. I think that would be a good, really good addition for us. Well, 2 rows of broccoli are in, and I just realized that I forgot to add in my blood meal. I usually like to toss some of this into the hole as I'm planting. It's a good organic source of nitrogen, so it's going to be helpful for putting on lots of green leafy growth. I'll put this in the hole with my cabbages that I'm planting next, and I'll go back later and water the broccoli plants with some fish emulsion mixed into water, and hopefully that'll make up for it. Next, I'm planting my red cabbage. I've not grown red cabbage before. This is the Red Acres variety. When I fed my kids red cabbage before, they said they liked it better than green. I don't know if it's because the color is fun, but I figured why not grow it? Here's hoping their tastes don't change. Last up is the Napa cabbage. These are definitely the most beautiful hardy thing that I've started inside. They're just so full, even as little seedlings. I'm going to plant these 12 inches apart, which is a little bit aggressive, but I'm going to give it a shot. Well, those look cheery. That was satisfying. So we've got Napa cabbage, red cabbage, broccoli, and more broccoli. over here in this area past the brassicas we just planted is where I'm going to put my butternut squash and acorn squash. So that'll be my squash patch. Hopefully we can get rid of this stump. It's been here for a while, but maybe this isn't the year. We'll see. And then the other end of the garden is the part I need your help with. This end of the garden is where I'd like to put some flowers. Any flowers that were here in the past are ones that my mom planted. I've never put any effort into growing flowers before. I've always been excited about growing food, but I'd like some cut flowers for my table, and I have bees, so I really should be growing flowers. I'm just not sure exactly how to lay things out and how to manage the transition from the vegetable end to the flower end. It's a long garden. Do you think it needs some kind of landscaping divider for the vegetable garden to keep it from the flower garden, just visually, or am I overthinking things and it's okay to just have a bunch of veggies in one half of the garden and flowers in the other? Let me show you the full length so you get the sense of it. There's the veggie end. This will be squash. We're definitely going to keep that fig tree at the far end, but everything else I think we're going to pull out. So do I maybe need some kind of landscape stone here to divide one end from the other? Tell me your thoughts. In the meantime, I'm going to plant some lettuce. Next veggie going in the ground is the lettuce. I'm going to put the salad bowl blend in with my garlic. Last year I planted lettuce in with my garlic and I loved it. The garlic, as it grew tall, gave some nice shade to the lettuce, and it was just a really good use of space. The garlic is already spaced as tightly as garlic should be, and yet the lettuce was able to thrive in all the little gaps in between, so it allowed me to squeeze a lot of productivity out of one bed. Here are my lettuce rows, just filling in the gaps between garlic. I ran out before I could plant the other half, but the other rows of garlic are also a little more tightly spaced. I told you sometimes I measure and sometimes I'm just not in the mood. I think I was planting with my heart on this day. So that spacing's fine. I'm going to plant my other kind of lettuce, my little gems, over in the cold frame. The cold frame is where I put a lot of my leafy greens because it's really close to my front door, and I like being able to just pop out here and snip something for dinner. We're getting past the weather where I need a cold frame, but I just keep the lid up then, and it's another kind of raised bed space. I'm spacing the little gems 8 inches apart. So I do love this thing. These two outside yellow ones I know are 8 inches apart. So I'm just going to mark off my holes, take the guesswork out of it. Next is spinach. I think this is the best variety I've ever tasted. Its name is French and I can't pronounce it, so I'll put it down in the titles below and you can read the name for yourself. It's going in the ground. Up next, dazzling blue kale. These actually need 12 inches per plant, so I'll only get a few of these in the bed. That's fine. And finally, in this last little space, some French breakfast radishes. They probably should have gone into the ground a while ago. Hi guys! My kiddos just came back from school, so we're going to get these into the ground as quickly as possible. We're done with measuring. These should be about 2 inches apart. What do you think?
I want to plant.
Sure.
These
are the last two. I made a hole for you.
I want to plant my berry and stuff in them now.
Should we find a little part of the garden that you can plant things in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to put the seeds in.
Okay, we can do that. Good job, sweetie.
You know this thing is leaking.
Yeah, I know. We need a new one. So we've got Little Gems lettuce, French spinach I can't pronounce, dazzling blue kale, and French breakfast radishes. Last up is our in-ground potatoes. I brought you along last week for our no-dig potato planting, but we're still going to do one raised bed. So in this bed I'm doing Eva potatoes. I grew these last year and I really like them because they have a really good shape, a regular shape, and we like French fries. So those kind of knobby, weird shaped potatoes don't really work well for it. I want a bunch of these that our first round can go into.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna use a hoe.
You can help me cover this up. Somebody can help me sprinkle bone meal in.
I want to do that.
We're putting bone meal in with the potatoes.
Judy!
It's, oh, June Brown! I've got a baby sitting on cabbages. No, baby! No. Come here. Oh. Goodness. Come over here. As I was saying, we're going to put bone meal in the hole with our potatoes. The blood meal is really good for putting on green leafy growth, but the bone meal is great for root development. And with potatoes, that's what we want. Yeah, try to get it down in the hole. Good. And you can do an even bigger handful, okay? Good, bud. Yes. We're going to put a potato every foot, starting with one right here. And you see this part? These little nubby bits?
Yeah.
These are called eyes. That's what's going to grow up. So we want the eyes facing up. So we'll do the first one like that.
Like, I like person eyes.
Right, like people eyes. Here, you want to put this one eyes facing up? Right over here? Excellent. You can kind of nestle it down in. And let's get another. You know, I told you that my strategy for this gardening season is to grow a bit more food without putting in more effort. And I stand by that. I think that's a good plan for this year. But as I sit here editing this video and watching my kiddos, it's starting to hit me that in just a few years, they might be able to be a bigger part of this work that we do. They love helping with these projects, and it won't be long before they could be doing a little bit of watering every day or gathering eggs every day. And I can see how that might change the flow of things around here. I have a feeling this lifestyle of trying to grow and raise more of our own food is something that's going to ebb and flow as our family passes through different seasons.